You're watching KSG News, where you get all the latest updates from across the globe to help with your exam preparations. KSG India proudly announces the commencement of center batches for offline coaching at Delhi, Vijayanagar, Delhi, Rajendra Nagar, Jaipur, Bhopal and Indore centers, making sure students' health and safety and also the targeted approach towards UPSC Civil Services examination preparation. Visit www.ksgindia.com for batch queries. We begin with GS Paper 2. This update is in connection with international relations. In their first summit under the Quad framework on the 12th of March 2021, leaders of India, the US, Japan and Australia will deliberate on expanding cooperation in the Indo-PACIFIC region and focus on a coronavirus vaccine initiative to effectively deal with the pandemic, people familiar with the matter said. They said that the virtual summit is expected to delve into pooling in the individual strengths by the Quad countries to expedite global vaccine delivery and explore concrete collaboration in supplying safe and affordable vaccines in the Indo-Pacific region. Now, what does this mean? The Quad Vaccine Initiative will project and reinforce India's credentials as a reliable manufacturer and supplier of the vaccines, reaffirming the country's stature as the pharmacy of the world. The summit will be participated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, US President Joe Biden, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, and Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. The summit is likely to exchange views on contemporary issues such as post-pandemic recovery, resilient supply chains, emerging and critical technologies, maritime security, and climate change. The four Quad member countries have been resolving to uphold a rules-based international order in the Indo-Pacific amid growing Chinese assertiveness in the region. India's approach to the Indo-Pacific was enunciated by the Prime Minister in a speech at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore in 2018. Going into some background details, the foreign ministers of the Quad member nations met in Tokyo on the 6th of October and reaffirmed their collective vision for a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. The foreign minister of the four countries held their first meeting under the quadrilateral or Quad framework in New York in September 2019. In November 2017, India, Japan, the US and Australia gave shape to the long-pending proposal of setting up the Quad to develop a new strategy to keep the critical sea routes in the Indo-Pacific free of any influence. Shifting focus to updates related to GS Paper 3, the Indian Space Research Organization has launched a sounding rocket to study attitudinal variations in the neutral winds and plasma dynamics from Sriharikota spaceport. ISRO has developed a series of sounding rockets called Rohini series, important among them being RH200, RH300 and RH560, number in the name indicating the diameter of the rocket in millimeters. Launch of sounding rocket RH560 to study attitudinal variations in the neutral winds and plasma dynamics carried out on 12 March 2021 at STSC SHAR in Sriharikota. Sounding rockets are one or two stage solid propellant rockets used for probing the upper atmospheric regions and for space research. They also serve as easily affordable platforms to test or prove prototypes of new components or subsystems intended for use in launch vehicles and satellites. At present, ISRO has three versions of sounding rockets: RH200, RH300, Mk2 and RH560 Mk2, capable of carrying 8 to 100 kilograms of payload and reach an altitude of 80 to 475 kilometers. ISRO started launching indigenously made sounding rockets from 1965, and experience gained was of immense value in the mastering of solid propellant technology. In some more updates related to GS Paper 3, Asia's emergence as global natural gas trading superpower will increasingly dictate the market rates in Europe for a once localized commodity that was simply linked to the price of oil. The change was highlighted this winter when freezing temperatures in the northern hemisphere meant liquefied natural gas or LNG tankers went to Asia, the biggest consumer of the fuel, and where sellers could get record high rates. That pushed up market levels in Europe and conversely is now acting as a price brake as winter ends and LNG supplies return to the region. Over the next couple of years, European gas prices will become less and less Europe-centric and more globally influenced. Even with its numerous pipeline supply options, Europe's import dependency is rising amid falling domestic production due to aging fields in the North Sea. At the same time, trade in LNG transportable across oceans is expanding faster, driven mainly by demand in Asia. In coming years, Europe will have to compete for LNG with consumers in China, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. In addition, new markets are yet to open as some Asian nations are just starting to use gas in power generation instead of more polluting coal and fuel oil. By contrast, Europe's tightening climate targets will lead to more renewables squeezing out gas. Staying with GS Paper 3, India has emerged as the fifth most attractive growth destination, slipping one position after being surpassed by the United Kingdom, according to a global survey of CEOs. The United States is number one market that CEOs are looking to in terms of growth over the next 12 months, and China is at the second spot. The findings are part of leading consultancy PwC's 24th annual Global CEO Survey that covered 5,050 CEOs in 100 countries and territories, including India. Now, what does this really mean? At 17%, Germany holds on to its number 3 spot on the list of growth destinations, while the UK, post-Brexit, moves up to number 4, surpassing India. Japan also rises up the ranking to become the 6th most attractive growth destination, overtaking Australia, which held that position last year. The US has extended its lead as the number one market that CEOs are looking to for growth over the next 12 months at 35%, 7 percentage points ahead of China at 28%. In 2020, the US was only 1 percentage point ahead of China. The survey found that 76% of CEOs worldwide expect the global economy recovery to improve in 2021, showing record levels of optimism about growth a year after the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. As cross-border competition heats up global tax debates, CEOs foresee some cooling of global trade tensions. The survey released said that both trade conflict and protectionism dropped on the CEO threat list in relative and absolute terms. That's it in this edition of KSG News. Stay tuned for more such short, concise, and informative videos. KSG India proudly announces the commencement of center batches for offline coaching at Delhi, Vijayanagar, Delhi, Rajendra Nagar, Jaipur, Bhopal, and Indore centers, making sure students' health and safety and also the targeted approach towards UPSC Civil Services examination preparation. Visit www.ksgindia.com for batch queries.